If you've ever watched these craft or life hack videos, you have contributed to the success of content farms. While I'm not the biggest fan of all the things that they do, one thing I know for sure: they know how to get, maintain, and monetize attention incredibly well. Their productions have amassed over 70 billion views across many social media platforms, over 2 billion subscribers, and they're probably worth anywhere from $10 to $15 million as a company. With the monetization programs on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, there is more incentive than ever to create content at scale that people want to watch and generates revenue. I wanted to take a look at the tactics that they use, and what I found are strategies that I believe will help channels grow and monetize better. Now, the concept of a content farm is nothing new. Tabloids were the perfect example of this back in the day, and then even with websites and articles, that's the definition of clickbait. There were a lot of production studios, a lot of production companies that were applying the same principles that content farms use now. And even before that, an interesting thing that I found is that Alexandre Dumas, the writer of The Three Musketeers, could be said to have created a content farm as well. A lot of his publications were just outsourced, meaning he basically built a studio where he had a lot of writers, a lot of researchers, and his job was to coordinate and manage that talent, to write the publications and edit the publications for him. And again, we can definitely say that he has been a great success. Scrolling to their content, I realized that content farms are very efficient, and the strategies that they use are hyper effective at getting and keeping attention using the following tactics. First off, they use a lot of clickbait, both in their titles and in the thumbnails, and the content that they produce is pretty broad, mostly appealing to kids. Because of that, they use very bright colors, very flashy elements that would drag anyone's attention, especially a 5-year-old's. Because kids are more likely to watch a video again and again, or to watch very similar types of videos, content firms are also very good at replicating what works. They have created basically a couple patterns, a couple types of content that they use, and they produce over and over again, which is pretty smart. Now, in the same time, they're also pretty fast to hop on trends, and again, they still do this while applying the same clickbaity titles, thumbnail techniques with bright colors, which again is very efficient, at least for them. So we could all agree that those strategies are definitely working. Even some of the biggest YouTubers are using very similar strategies, and while content farm tactics are a little bit questionable, and despite all the backlash, they are still around and making millions of dollars. So all in all, I think it works, and here's what we can take from it. Not only that these content farms definitely know what they're doing in terms of generating attention, the content farms that specialize in video content around platforms like YouTube have also perfected the process of making money from that mass scale content. Their whole monetization structure is definitely centered around AdSense and the YouTube Partner Program, where YouTube pays them a dynamic amount of money for every 1,000 views that they generate, like the rest of us. Now, they're pretty little in terms of affiliate, merch, and any other types of monetization because they're not really building a valuable audience, and most of the videos are somewhat transactional. You watch a 5-minute craft, you watch it once, and then you probably watch another one from another creator or another content farm, because they're not really able to build a valuable audience, and they mostly rely on AdSense. That allows them to do something else. Instead of acting like a creator, I believe they act more like a portfolio manager, and I'll explain what that is in a second. So much like any other business or any other entrepreneur out there, the content farms operate as a business. They have to be very careful with their budget allocation and how exactly they pay everybody, who they pay, what pieces of content they make, because at the end of the day, they have to yield a profit. So the most important activity of these people is not necessarily to create content and see what type of content they create, but more so managing the portfolio of channels or managing the portfolio of creators and deciding the strategic directions they want to take it from while keeping the revenue generating activities in mind. As a result of that, they most likely outsource to vendors from low priced labor markets. Their content is not very good. And don't get me wrong, the content is pretty engaging, and also when you take into consideration the amount of content they produce, how many pieces they put out there, it is pretty impressive. But what I meant by that is that it's pretty low in substance. Here's where the opportunity lays for smaller creators like you and me to come in and take a piece of that pie. Using similar strategies and tactics, we could create very similar production channels and production companies without compromising on the quality. The concept is nowhere new because more or less every creator out there, at least the successful ones, are outsourcing a portion of their videos. Whether the editors, the writers, the thumbnail designers, Mr. Beast is not doing all those things by himself, so the element of outsourcing is already there. So we have creators who kind of already do that to an extent and make a lot of money. We have these giant companies which make that with no face attached and they make even more money. That makes me believe that there's definitely an opportunity for for normal people like you and me to kind of combine those strategies and make an extra $3, $5, maybe $10,000 per month. Here's how I'd use the content farm principles and structures that we learned in this video to create a content farm of my own while leaving out the bad stuff. Number one, I would identify a market gap, and I already did that for you. It's tutorial production channel. A friend of mine owns this channel called How to Digital. If we look at their videos, you can see that they are very short, simple tutorials that are very easy to make, and he uploads a lot of them. Those videos are definitely shorts based and they don't get traffic for recommended that much. People just watch them in a transactional environment. You can see how this easily follows most of the principles that we talked about content farms. I know for a fact that his tutorial production channel How to Digital makes anywhere from $14,000 to $18,000 in a single month, and there's no big corporation around it. It's actually a person like you and me. And How to Digital is definitely not the only example out there. I have a similar channel myself where we talk about website tutorials and how to do things on the internet using websites, and I could say that one is pretty lucrative too. It made us $10,000 last month, and you can see it right now on the screen. And the best part is with these two channels that one, it's not harmful to anybody, it's not really dangerous. Because the videos rely so much on search-based traffic, they're very evergreen, meaning they will continue to make money day after day, month after month, year after year, and they can pound very nicely. And the relative investment is pretty small. A video is pretty cheap to create because again, it's pretty easy to do, but you need some capital because you ideally want to post a lot of them. Once you figure out how to do this profitably, if you are really into it, you can pivot into more serious stuff like Nate O'Brien did, where they talk a lot about tutorials how to do things on Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, or how to buy stocks and ETFs. Because of the nature of the topics, I would say with 1 million monthly views, this channel makes them at least $50,000 per month in AdSense revenue alone. I suspect that's not their biggest stream of income for this channel because brand deals in this niche are very, very good. If you do this the right way, you will have very friendly content that will allow you to monetize and make a lot of money, and you don't need to deal with any of the backlash. I think being successful with a content farm or just a faceless channel boils down to one simple thing: thinking on one side as a creator and as a business on the other side, and meeting those in the middle. I talk more about that in this video right here, and I highly recommend you watch it.